What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the 13th November episode of Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including the backstage reaction to Zelina Vega's release, and how it affects her husband Aleister Black. WWE's issued a big warning. Chelsea Green was hospitalized during her debut match last night, Randy Orton's heartbreaking tribute to Eddie Guerrero, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't recap the show, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of last night's show. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, a super showdown. No, we're not talking about WWE's Saudi Arabia show, but the colossal confrontation between Raw's Drew McIntyre and SmackDown's Roman Reigns. Now, whilst this isn't a dream match as it's already happened at WrestleMania, fans may get to see a second encounter between the two should Drew defeat Randy Orton for the WWE Championship on the 16th November Raw. Now, even if McIntyre doesn't win, this is a good way to tease interest in a future confrontation. McIntyre and Reigns are currently two of the hottest stars, and just having them cross paths without any physicality was a badass segment as they traded insults, leading fans to wonder when the fisticuffs would erupt. They didn't, but the mere thought of what will happen when they do throw down has to have the WWE Universe hoping it happens soon. That's how you build interest in a match, and with any luck, the WWE will make it worth the wait. Number 2, fantastic booking. The WWE wisely chose not to have any physical interaction between Reigns and Drew McIntyre, but that didn't mean SmackDown viewers were denied a chance to see Drew in action. Booking McIntyre against Jay was a good way to show how the tribal chief is surrounding himself with a gauntlet of wrestlers to protect himself, as well as to show how far Jey Uso has come as a singles performer. They widely made mention of Jay's victories over Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, making it seem like he might even beat Drew. Okay, while that didn't happen, Jay still looks strong, and it's obvious that WWE is determined to build him up further. Number 3, a long overdue finish. SmackDown's no-holds-barred match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins was long overdue, and as much as fans have enjoyed the feud, it's arguably overstayed its welcome. Rey finally defeated Rollins, and although he did so with the help from Rollins' former disciple Murphy, this was a good way to build up Murphy versus Rollins. Now, with the rumors of Rollins taking time off for paternity leave, it's likely we'll see Murphy get the win over Rollins. Where things go on from here is anyone's guess, but with any luck, the WWE will find an interesting direction for the Mysterio family that doesn't involve Seth Rollins. Number 4, Banks and Bayley on the back burner. It's good to see that WWE is putting the Sasha Banks vs Bayley feud on hold. While we can debate whether or not the WWE made a misstep by booking their first big match in a Hell in a Cell match where Banks had to win or lose face, there's no changing the past, and they're wisely putting their feud on hold. They deserve credit for the way they're doing so, having Bayley announce she's done with Banks for now and will resume her feud when she's ready. It helps show Bayley's arrogance and create suspense as to when Bayley will strike back at the boss. Now they can focus on Sasha Banks and her new challenger Carmella. With any luck, Banks will be able to make Carmella look good and elevate her into a star, even if it's not in the main event. Now, to be honest, apart from nitpicking on a few things, there was nothing that bad or even downright ugly on last night's show. And if we did mention these nitpicks, then probably you'll call us out in the comments. But rumor has it Vince McMahon has ordered the show to be rewritten not long beforehand, and if so, the last minute rewrites appear to have helped. With Survivor Series just 10 days away, the WWE did a good job building things up, particularly with the possible match between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. This is depending on whether or not McIntyre wins the championship on next week's Raw. They created some hype for the New Day versus the Street Profits at Survivor Series, with Big E calling the Street Profits New Daylight, and even introduced a new storyline for Otis, with Chad Gable offering to take him under his wing, but undoubtedly having ulterior motives. Of course, you may not agree with our opinion here, but let us know what you thought was bad about SmackDown in the comments down below. Now, let's move on to the news. Now, our first story looks at the backstage reaction to Zelina Vega's firing and how it affects her husband Aleister Black. Now, there's lots of fallout from the WWE firing Zelina Vega last night, with many people believing Vega was released for her vocal support for unionizing the WWE. Now, in case you missed it, Vega tweeted, "I support unionization," and just a mere 10 minutes later, they announced her release. However, according to Post Wrestling's John Pollock, The release was already known about internally before Vega tweeted that message, and it was not the cause. Wrestling News' Paul Davis added, "The word going around in WWE is that she already knew that she was being released by the time she sent out the tweet about unionization, and the decision to release her came after she expressed her issues with the WWE's mandate that wrestlers must give up their Twitch and Cameo accounts." In addition, PW Insider is reporting, multiple WWE sources have confirmed to PWInsider.com that today's release of Zelina Vega was fallout from last month's edict that talents dropped their relationships with third-party entities such as Twitch, Cameo, etc. in favor of WWE spearheading those relationships and fielding talents out as part of their contractual duties. There's considerable fallout regarding the story, and let's start with Vega, who appeared on Twitch and said,
"I'm sad. I'm completely heartbroken. But Broncos fan, thank you. Obviously this isn't the last that you're going to see of me. I don't know what the future's going to hold. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know I'm going to be here, so I hope you all will stay, but God, my heart's beating so fast. I love you all though, and I'm really, really thankful to each and every single one of you. If I go down as someone who stood up for themselves and, so be it. But I'm still thankful, and I'm not angry. I'm just heartbroken.
There are various reports coming in concerning industry action to Vega's release. As Fightful Select reports, most WWE wrestlers were shocked and scrambling for information as to what happened. According to Fightful, one person on Smackdown did tell us that if one person was going to stand their ground on the third-party situation, they felt like it would be Zelina. AEW wrestlers were surprised at the release as they consider Vega to be a phenomenal talent, while rumor has it Impact might be interested in bringing her back to revive the promotion's women's tag team division. WrestleVotes has background information on the situation, including a recent situation involving Vega's husband, Aleister Black. There's a bit more behind the scenes to Zelina Vega's release. Frustration from both sides is an understatement. While it can't be directly tied to today's news, Aleister Black recently requested to move back to NXT and was denied, dissension amongst the parties involved. According to PW Insider, Vega is bound by a 90-day no-compete clause, so you can be certain there'll be lots of interest in Vega given the skills she's shown on Raw as a manager and to a lesser extent as a wrestler. Next up, a big warning has been issued to WWE. Vega's high-profile release led to reactions from politicians and labor officials. Former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang has been a big critic of WWE's questionable labor policies and has previously warned that he would work hard to have the WWE's labor practices investigated if Joe Biden was elected as president. Yang recently tweeted, "I haven't forgotten about Vince McMahon. Whether or not President-elect Joe Biden's administration investigates the WWE remains to be seen, but it's unlikely Vince McMahon will be well received by his friend Donald Trump's successor." Gabrielle Cateres, sorry if we pronounce her wrong, is a current president of the Screen Actors Guild, and she tweeted, "Hey Zelina Vega, thanks for standing strong for labor solidarity. I support you. Please email me." The Screen Actors Guild also tweeted its support saying, "So do we." You may recall discussions about the possibility of WWE superstars unionizing through the Screen Actors Guild due to their status as entertainers. Whether this happens depends on wrestlers' willingness to stand up for themselves. Next up, Chelsea Green was hospitalized during her Smackdown debut. There's bad news for Chelsea Green as a talented NXT performer was injured during her debut on Smackdown last night, suffering a broken wrist. However, that's unclear as WWE.com states she broke her wrist, while Green noted on Instagram that she broke her arm. Green was wrestling in a fatal 4-way Survivor Series qualifier against Liv Morgan, Tamina Snuka and Natalya and was gone after a minute, leaving fans confused as to what happened. Ironically, Green injured her wrist during her NXT TV debut, as she noted, "If you ever wondered where I went after my entrance, here's your answer. Another broken arm. Nothing I haven't dealt with before. I'll be back before you know it." We wish Chelsea Green a quick and full recovery. Next up, how much time is Seth Rollins taking off? With Seth Rollins rumored to be taking time off as fiancée Becky Lynch comes closer to delivering their first child, fans are wondering how long Rollins will be off television. Ringside News' Steve Carrier recently tweeted, "We exclusively reported that Rollins is getting time off from WWE for the birth of his and Becky Lynch's baby. People wanted to know a time frame for his hiatus, and it's not a long one. We've been told that it's likely looking at 4 to 6 weeks without the Messiah." And finally, Randy Orton's heartbreaking tribute to Eddie Guerrero. The 13th November 2005 was a sad day in wrestling, as it's the day Eddie Guerrero passed away at the young age of only 38. A number of wrestlers paid tribute to the late great Latino heat, including current WWE champion Randy Orton, who posted a touching tribute on Instagram. 15 years ago, me along with the rest of the crew wore an armband with EG on it. I was able to do some digging and find mine from that day. It was our way of paying tribute to one of the best performers and people in our locker room. I don't remember a lot from back then, but I remember that day. I remember getting to the arena and hearing the devastating news. I think I wrestled Cena that night. None of our heads were in it because of our tremendous loss. Today I know many people around the world will watch some Eddie Guerrero classics in remembrance of his talent. I'll be doing the same. Eddie Guerrero's legacy continues to inspire people, and his memory lives on not only for his work in the ring, but for his incredible presence behind the scenes amongst family, friends, and colleagues. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. But there you have it, guys, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly from last night's Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.